I know you're in a time frame here, making a Christmas chicken.
Oh, yeah, I have to boil. I have to start my oil. It takes like 35 minutes to heat up the oil because I deep fry them. So it takes,
Nice, David.
yeah, like 3 gallons of oil, peanut oil, and then it takes like 35 minutes to heat it up. And then each chicken's maybe about 20, 25 minutes. So I'm cooking three of them.
Wow, very
Did,
cool.
did, did your son get the cooking gene from you or your wife?
Oh, not for me, from Christy.
Okay. Because you're cooking chicken with peanut oil and you're getting all into it. I thought maybe this guy's the
I
chef of the
remember a lot
family.
of tortilla chips and salsa when we were kids.
Yeah, I know. That was a good
Remember
stuff.
that?
It's a good
Hmm.
salsa. He's gonna make some salsa for on Christmas Day for us.
Very cool. Very cool.
Welcome to the show, everybody. It's become the education and political show, Jacob, hasn't it been? Everything's
Lately,
changed lately where
lately.
we've gone this direction. We're getting all these hits. This will not be political unless David Dorf wants to take us in that direction. But we have return guest David Dorf. How are you doing, David?
I'm doing good. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I You're one of my favorite guests. You always have something to say. It's a relief because I usually deal with Jake and he has very little to say. No, I'm just but David, I thought it would be interesting because the semester just ended and I think it's good to reflect on what happened this last semester, what went well, what needs to be addressed. And first of all, let me ask you, what subject and what grade do you teach?
So in the past, I've taught eighth grade U.S. history for years, and then our school closed down, and so now I'm currently teaching seventh grade world history.
Seventh grade world history. That is fascinating to me because you have taught middle school for many years. And what's fascinating about that is you're still in the game. You have not said, no, I got to leave for other pastures. You're still teaching middle school, and it sounds like you like it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because most people go, "How can you do that?" You work with 13 and 14-year-olds, and this is my 30th year, so I don't know. I think you kind of have to act like the kids and stuff to kind of relate to them. I think that's part of it, being goofy and all that kind of stuff. That's what my wife tells me. I kind of act like the kids, so that's why I'm kind
Right.
of still in the game. So I enjoy it. I enjoy the rapport amongst the kids and all that kind of stuff. So that's what I really appreciate. I think the most.
I like that. I like that because a lot of people are afraid of of that age group, and you understand it, and that's great. We need people like you who don't just look at that and go, "I need to move on to something else,"
Definitely.
but respect that age group. That's really nice to hear. Uh, let's talk about the semester, seventh grade world history, and then I'll ask you, Jake, to follow up. But David, what went well? Oh, sorry, let's start with the bad news. Let's start with the bad news. What do you think, would you say needs adjustment? Maybe there's something that's going on tech-wise or with the students that you saw that's shifted. I know things have changed since COVID, but or maybe just something that you saw that you could improve or adjust for next semester.
I think what always needs to improve is communication with admin.
Hmm.
I think that's always the big thing, and for them to be consistent and following through, especially with discipline. Um, this past year, I wouldn't say there was like a revolt, but it was kind of about to explode at our school with teachers being very upset with admin. This was last year, and so I reached out to our superintendent, who I know, and I talked to him, and then he had a big meeting with everybody, and it was after school, and the people that were janitors at night, they came to this meeting and it was packed. So I think that's what kind of had to happen. We kind of had to hit the floor because people were frustrated with discipline and other things. But I think from that point on, they came up with like a leadership group, and I'm part of that leadership group, and I think our admin was open to that. So I think it had to hit the low before it kind of got any better with regards to like the school climate. and everybody just kind of be frustrated. So I think that was a big part of that for us.
Wow. The issue with admin has been an ongoing problem, it seems, among teachers and things and that's a problem.
Did you feel like there was any like blowback towards you though, because you're part of this leadership team? I mean, did they kind of give you the stink eye or treat you a little differently, come observe you more or anything like that?
Yeah, I kind of thought of that, like, is this going to kind of backfire? The teachers really appreciated it. They came up and thanked me to kind of, to start the process of the healing, so to speak. That was in the back of my mind, but you know what? This is like I'm going on my 30th year, and I'm like, so now I got to the point where if something happens, it happens. I've been around long enough. If I would have to get the union or something involved in that to kind of, protect me and all that, but a little bit. But no, I think I've made a good name for myself at the school and district. I do SRLA and the
Right.
admin. Just love that. So I don't start problems. I have good, classroom management. If I was like a problem teacher, I think it would have been a lot different.
Right.
Definitely.
I like that. I think you're saying have your backyard swept and clean, and then you have more, you have more say, you have more credibility when you stand up to administrators and when you see something that's unfair. I think that's very important.
Yeah, if it
Very
was
good.
if it was like, where I always like had, if I was calling the office all the time for discipline, can you bring security and all that, which I never do. I take care of my job. The admin's welcome to walk in anytime, but I think because, we do our jobs the way we're supposed to do our jobs, I felt comfortable with the outcome.
And those
Good.
many people don't know because they don't see you physically in as Jake and I have known you physically. Dave stands well over 6 feet tall. He's a very big man. I can When he walks into a room, those students don't have any choice but to be on point and not push back. So he is the stick. Um, Very interesting. Okay, well that's good. An improvement in admin teacher relations. And
And
that's
just yeah, I would say it's gotten much better since that point. Just the follow through, because we have like a leadership, culture climate group, and I'm part of that with other teachers and other classified employees, and just to make sure that what we did in the past, it kind of gets better. And our admin is real open to that. And I think that's something you need. And our biggest thing was, we as teachers and classified employees, can bring these items to the table, but it really depends on the follow through from the admin. And so that's kind of our thing that we always, push. Be consistent and make sure you follow through with what's happening at the table.
very nice. I like that. And what about you, Jacob? What what really wrong this semester for you?
I was just thinking about it. Towards the end of the semester, I had a report, it was a report. Well, I had two reports, one for my government class and one for my psychology class. Psychology class, I had them do a serial killer report and see what went wrong. Why did they go wrong in their lives? And in the government, they did a Supreme Court case. So anyway, my point is that my whole program or my whole part of the rubric was to have them give an oral piece to it, right? To speak in class. Oh my gosh, they begged me not to do it. And I gave them opportunities throughout the year, beginning of the year to speak a little bit in class, like journal topics, or I want them to speak as much as I can. But they didn't want to speak like for 2 or 3 minutes, and I gave in, and I really kicked myself after that. I go, why did I do this? Why did I give in to them? Even though I did tell them next semester I'm not giving in, you guys can do it. But I just felt like I was the worst teacher. I'm like, why did I do that? Because since COVID, I'm not sure, David, if you've seen this, but they just don't want to talk as much. It's harder to get them to speak, at least with me, get them to, we also have this new policy starting second semester is where there's no phones anymore. I mean, they have to put them in pouches, and they get magnetized. So that's going to be a blow to them, right? So they're going to have to start talking and socializing with which I think is a good thing. I'm not sure if it's going to be, hopefully it's going to be successful. But anyway, my point is that I feel like I blew it with the oral piece, and I really want to think it out for next semester and actually do some more baby steps, helping them. You just don't have them, boom, do a 3 minute. But I have given them opportunities, but I really want to be more that's the word, intentional. So
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
I like that. It's good.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. How about you, Rube?
Okay, I will say that so I'm left-handed. This is going somewhere. Let me explain. And my left arm has carpal tunnel. I just got it. Um, Long story short, I have been overwhelmed with paperwork. And I guess what went wrong this semester is me not managing my paperwork, me not doing things more efficiently. And so I've had to reassess things because I can hold my phone, okay, but there are some things I can't if I pick them up, um, I have a stack of books. If I pick certain books up, it's agony. That's how bad the carpal tunnel is. So I guess for me, there's no AI to organization to, you could find an AI program to address a lot of things online, but there is there's something to be said for organizing your classroom in an efficient way and organizing your paperwork. I was really shocked at the amount of work I had to do this semester. This is not me, woe is me, woe is me. I don't want to misunderstand uh, people to misunderstand me. It's just me being new to a school and learning structures and systems. I've never had to turn in a curriculum guide that I had to turn in a curriculum guide that accounts for every single day and every single lesson throughout the whole semester across all the subjects I teach. I teach four. I teach English 9 honors, AP Lit, AP Language and Comp, and English 12. It was a monumental task to create that curriculum guide for all four, keep up with the grading, and I really felt it in my limbs. And I realized, okay, now that I know what to do, I need to pace myself. And I'm actually optimistic because I wasn't at my best last semester. And now I feel like this next semester I will be. I have a sense going in and I have the eye of the tiger.
Mhm.
So that's what went wrong. I'm in pain, but I'll be over it. We get a 2-week break. Thank God. Okay. Enough with the negativity. Oh, right? What went well? What's the W that we can um, celebrate in our teaching? What say you, David?
Well, I think, if I think of positives, I mean, for me, I think of SRLA. That's just a big part of my life and big part of my heart, students
Oh
from
yeah.
Los Angeles. This is my 10th year being involved. My wife's, she's been involved for 10 years. My daughter, Hannah, who's also teaching at our school now. She's teaching as a long-term sub. So I carpool with her
That's
every
so
week.
cool.
That's been kind of nice. And her classroom that she teaches in is right across from me. So I love that.
Nothing better. Nothing better.
Yeah, and this is her third year in SRLA. But I think just making the relationships with the parents and the students being outside of school, that's very positive. It's a much different environment. I'm involving every year. My goal is to involve one staff member from our school to join SRLA. And 3 years ago, I brought on the principal and one of our teachers. They're still in it. They still run with us. I brought in another teacher last year. She goes, I can never run a marathon. She completed her first marathon. This year, I have our custodian who's been running with us. So my goal every year is to bring one more staff member. And at the races, we got like 12, 13, 14 staff members. We take a picture. I send it to the admin. I sent to everybody in our school, the classified and certificated, and send it to them, and they love that. But I think the biggest thing for me is the SRLA. In the classroom, I think just for me is just making that rapport with students, and I figured out that that you can have all the knowledge in the world, but first of all, if you don't have classroom management, your classroom's out the door. But
Mm.
you have to make that rapport with the students. And so there was some sixth graders last year that always got in trouble. But Mr. Dorf, watch out, these girls are going to drive you nuts, they're going to drive you crazy. And I kind of knew who they were, and I kind of talked to them in the beginning and stuff, and I kind of have a good rapport with them. Other teachers seem to have a lot of issues with them. I love having them in my class. Um, at one point she said, can I sit next to my friend? And at first I'm like, why would I do that? And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna give you a test. I'm gonna say yes, as long as you keep up with your work and take care of business. And they stayed close to me because I have to kind of watch them. Perfect. They got good grades. They did everything. No problems in class. So for me, I think the takeaway is SRLA, but just having those kids that got in trouble last year, just having them do well in class.
That's great.
You know what I like is that you did not judge those students from prior behavioral problems and from other teacher testimony. You graded them, you had a fresh slate with them. And a lot of times we get colored, get biased by other teachers' testimonies. We need to look at students in a fresh way and say, I don't know you. Today's day one. Isn't that important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because in the past, I'd be like, no, I would judge them and all that. But, the past maybe 6 or 7 years, right before COVID and stuff, or yeah, COVID, I'm like, I'm going to try something different. And so and my goal is never judge a book by its picture. Whatever I hear about other staff members or students, I'm going to judge them for what I see. And I'm going to give them respect, and hopefully they'll respect me back. I'm going to talk to them like a young adult. And I think doing that, I usually don't yell at kids. And so, like the first week of school, I always ask the students, what's the difference from a good teacher and a bad teacher? And for a bad teacher, they say, oh, the teacher yells at me, he yells at me, all that kind of stuff. I have a big voice, so I'll raise my voice, but for the most part, I don't yell. I can just, if they're talking, I'll walk close to them. And being 6'4", 260 pounds, the kids will usually stop. So that definitely helps my size. But I think you have to kind of look at it, with a different lens, definitely.
Oh yeah.
And I really appreciate you said about kind of asking students about how you are as a teacher. I got that from you, and I include that in my questionnaires now. What have you? How can I improve? What have you gotten from my class? And it's really been beneficial to hear feedback, because if I give feedback to students, who am I to not hear feedback from them about me, as long as it's constructive, right? So
Right. And I
that's
think
really,
sometimes it's sort of cut you off. Sometimes it's hard to do that because, we don't want to maybe hear what they have to say. But I think to improve ourselves, I think that's something we have to do.
yes. And
Very
they're
good.
very insightful sometimes. They can really see things. So very, very good stuff, David. And let's go to Jacob. Jacob, what went well this semester?
It doesn't sound strange, but David's been involved with SRLA for 10 years, right, Dave?
Oh, by the way, that's Students Run LA.
Students for
Uh,
LA.
and it's getting students involved in running and marathons and
The
yes.
other races, yeah. So I mentioned that because I've been working with academic decathlon for 14 years, and I had given it off to a new teacher, and I shared with her that I will assist her. And I'm in the middle of getting I'm actually going to get a surgery in the end of February now. I just got the date, and so for my knee. So I said I really can't be part of it just because physically, but I'll assist. So long story short, she had some trouble this year, so she had to take some time off, and she couldn't coach. And I remember thinking, well, I guess I'm gonna take it again. And Kimberly, my wife, which I'm glad I listened to her, right? She goes, "Oh, I don't think that's really wise. You already have a lot on your plate, and you're getting ready for kind of have to take it easy because of the surgery. So I finally said, you know what? I'm gonna listen when I don't listen enough, and to my body, or also, I just put too much on my plate. And I'm sure if you guys ever felt that way, you put too much on your plate. So I know I'm known for that, and I just do that all the time. I say, I'm gonna do it, even though it's gonna hurt the kids. However, it was kind of a good year to do it because it's a transition. All my kids graduated last year, so there's a lot of new kids, so they were not really into it yet. So I had to tell them, you guys, we're not going to do it this year. And told the administrators, unless they wanted to get a coach right off, and that was just too much work for them. So they said, we'll skip until next year. But it was difficult. But I say it's a good thing because I'm starting to say no to things. I'm starting to say, you know what, I have to look out for myself, especially since I'm towards the end of the career, right? And I think that's a good thing. And I think that, and I was really surprised that I did that. I'm gonna tell you the truth, you guys. I almost thought for sure I was gonna do it. Like I couldn't believe I said those words, like, sorry, I can't do it. It was just, I was like, wow, I can't believe I did that. And I'm very happy I did. And it was the right move. And it wouldn't have been fair to the kids because I wouldn't be there when they really needed me. So,
I
So
think
the
that's
win, oh, go on to it.
I think that's old school, and I'm kind of the same way. But I think now you kind of have to look at yourself and take care of yourself. So
yeah,
I
yes.
applaud you for doing that because I'm sure it was very, very difficult.
So difficult, David. And I mean, it's like for you, you love what you're doing, but if you had some ailment and you had to do,
Yeah,
you
that'd
might,
be hard.
it'd be hard. It'd be hard. Yeah, for sure. How
So
about you, Ruth?
the win for Jacob is he quit on his responsibilities. Okay, let's move on.
I knew,
Um,
I knew, I knew you were going to say something. I know Dave was going to understand, but I know my brother.
That's
I want
funny.
to say something that I think I've said on this channel before, but it's the very first credential program I had at Long Beach State, credential class I took. This old man, these old guys, he probably was teaching in the 40s, and I'm exaggerating, of course, but he had said when I turned in a lesson plan, he had said, "Why are you doing so much work? Let the students do the work. Why are you running around like this?" And I remember hearing that and knowing it was right, but not understanding. I didn't have the talent to put it into practice. And he used to say things like that, but I didn't know how to do it, even though he explained it a few times. But I feel like now I've gotten to the point where I understand it and I know how to do it, at least at some level. And so sometimes, sometimes you're in a situation where you create opportunities because you have no choice to have students have a student initiated classroom. So I teach AP Lit, and we already are behind. I'm teaching them Death of a Salesman, but there's so much to cover, so much information, and we hadn't even touched poetry yet. And I said, these students, how do I teach them this? Poetry is a different language almost. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to have them teach it. I'll just work with them one-on-one and have the students get up there and teach the poems. And as a result, I have given students 15 minutes per class where they get up in front of the class and they teach a poem, figurative language, structure, theme, important ideas. And I've coached them only. And what's happened is accidentally I've created a thing where Jake and I have laughed about this, is that admins love that kind of thing. I've only did it by necessity. It's that old expression, necessity breeds invention. It's like I had to do this, and it's uncomfortable. It's interesting because having the students teach for 15 minutes at a time.
And the kids probably love it, right? If it's
Love
poetry.
it. Love it. I give them a 15 minute. So there's so many things that I've learned. I put a timer on my board. It's a magnet and it's a timer, and I gave them 15 minutes. I push the start and they have 15 minutes and they're teaching. By the way, you do know that means I'm just sitting back and chilling. I take notes though. And it's like one time, two girls two students back to back. That's 30 minutes. I'm just sort of sitting back, taking notes, making just for later feedback. That's a big deal of allowing them to teach, admin coming in, seeing a student initiated classroom, and it made my mind work on how I could do it with all my classes. I gave up my class, my ninth grade honors class. I typically, when I teach Romeo and Juliet or any Shakespeare, I feel like I have to lord it over them and teach them, and because
Hmm.
it's hard to understand Shakespeare. But I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to break them up into groups. I'm going to have, because I know who the smart kids are. I'm going to have the smart kids. I don't use that language to them, of course. Run those groups. And I go, if you have any questions, just approach me. But I think you can teach them if they have any questions. I had not one student say I didn't get it. All the students got, so I have one class that is learning, we were doing Othello, another class is Romeo and Juliet. And I feel like I had for the first time a real student initiated classroom where they ran things and I was only kind of coaching them along. And there was a lot of freedom in that, a lot of joy in that, and the enjoyment the students had over that was really fun. So I want to keep doing it.
That's
Very
very smart.
cool.
I mean, you empowered the students. You gave them choice of what maybe, I don't know, different poems or whatever poetry, but you've empowered them to kind of give them some initiative to kind of, man, this is, I feel important now. And it's smart for you because it gives them the a little bit more of that accountability. And I'm sure they love teaching to the class.
You know what,
Yeah.
David? So they do like it, and there's fear, but it's okay to be fearful, right? We've experienced this in college, I'm sure, and at times in high school, that fear, but fear is a good thing at times. It's not the worst thing in the world, and you overcome it. But there was there was a moment where she was teaching a poem called so I put post-it notes of all these different poems that are important poems, and they got a choice. They went around and they picked a post-it note of a poem they decided to, and they don't know these poems, but they were attracted by the titles, right? And then they could go back and change them out if they didn't like the poem after they read it. But she was analyzing the groundhog, this poem titled The Groundhog, and so the time was dwindling down, and it went past. She only had 1 minute left. I had turned to look at something, and I looked back, and the time stopped. She stopped the time because she wanted to talk more. She wanted to teach more.
That's
And I
awesome.
said, it was so awesome. And I kind of pretended like, did the time stop or am I losing my mind? No, what are you talking about? And she pushes start again.
That's great.
And I love that she wanted, and I feel like part of the power of it is that students feel like they have a voice in the class. And all those analyses I put in the final. I put the different things that they covered in those poems in the final so that they were part of creating my final. And it was
Wow.
really nice.
Very
Yeah.
good. Wow. Very cool. Well, I guess we had some successes, Ben.
We
Thank
had
you.
some W's. We had
We had
some
some
wins.
W's. And
Yes.
again,
My
Dave, thanks.
Raiders, my Raiders did not win this semester, but at least in the classroom I had a couple of wins.
Well, they
And
might get like the first or second pick of the draft, so you
Thank
might get
you.
Sanders.
that's what they're saying. Yeah. So there you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we let you go, Dave, that orange shirt, what does it say before I let you go? Is that a school shirt?
No, this right here, this is a pullover. It's a marathon one.
Oh, cool.
I bought it at the Marathon Expo before we actually ran the expo. So
Okay. I liked it. I'm like, that's kind of a cool shirt. All right. Oh, nice.
my
Oh,
marathon.
it says marathon on there. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Nice. And you've run, this will be your 10th one then?
Well, this will be my 10th year. Last year I didn't run a full. This will be my I've completed 7
Okay. That's a
marathons.
lot.
Eighth
Wow.
one. Yeah.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
what you're doing is really good work, David. And thank you for adding to our channel here, our
Appreciate
podcast.
you having me here.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us, everybody. And we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.